For those who want the longer version of what does it mean to not throw a mobility solution at a stability problem, the basic premise is this. When you start to feel like you're tight, right? You feel like you're immobile, my hamstrings are tight, my back is tight, my neck is tight, and so forth. The body doesn't just become tight. You don't wake up and everything's tightened up on you and shrunk on you and all hell's broken loose, right? What really happens is your body's lacking a stability system. Now, to understand what all that really means is simple. Mobility is your joint's ability to get in and out of positions. So go overhead, reach behind my back, what have you. The ability to do that is predicated on how stable the joint is in allowing you to get there. So I'll give you two examples. I have a football player on the sideline. He got hit with a helmet in the thigh. Instantaneously, the body will shut down those muscles in the thigh so that he cannot put himself in a position to hurt himself anymore. Now, because of that, he's going to do what most of you have heard before. He's going to build in a compensation pattern. And once he starts doing that, everything just kind of falls apart. The only way to get that back is to reestablish the stability of that quad and the muscles associated with that in that area, the hip, the knee, the ankle, to make sure they're all coordinated and working together with everything on the other side. So if I get hit my right thigh, I got to make sure my left side and my right side are now talking to each other. That's what the word function or functional training is meant to teach you, is how to get both sides of your body communicating again versus just doing this movement or that movement. When you do random things, stretch my hamstrings, stretch my hips, do single leg balance, do all these things, if I don't have it based on the why answer, in other words, why am I unstable? If I can't draw a direct corollary to I got hit in the leg or a trauma, you have to find that why first. You can't just start throwing stuff at it and hope for the best. Now, excuse me, a lot of you out there might be asking, well, Doc, I don't play football, I didn't get hit in the thigh, but I have the same kind of problems. What that means is basically over time you've done the same thing. Now this is where it gets a little deep down the rabbit hole, so if you've heard enough, I appreciate you for watching. For the rest want to hear more, here we go. You got to understand that when you're 20, 25 years old, right? Say you've worked out a little bit, you played some sports, you're not worried about how well you move when you get up from a chair, get out of your car, get out of bed, walk around the house, pick something up off the floor. You're just doing tasks. You're not necessarily thinking to myself, okay, brace my abs, position my hips, make sure I'm dropping down properly, good foot positioning. Like, you're not thinking of any of those things, right? You're just doing the task that your brain is telling you to do that you have to perform. Now, a lot of us over time, so from my 20s to my 30s to my 40s, wonder why in our 50s, my knees hurt, my hip hurts, my shoulder hurts, my back hurts, I feel stiff, I feel tight, all these other things. That comes from decades of poor movement patterns or poor movement habits. That's where that all comes from. So when we say functional training, what we're trying to emphasize is teaching you how to move again. And I know it sounds ridiculous, but once you get into school, so roughly between the ages of 7 and 9, you start to move less and less and less, and you start to sit more and more and more. So you have this little like inverse curve that goes like that. Activity goes down, sedentariness goes up, right? Then you get into junior high and high school, and now you have homework. So I get to watch my son, who's 6'2" now, he's a tall kid, but because he hasn't focused on working on those squats, he's horrible at squatting. So we have to run him back through that again because he's so far back from when he was a 1-year-old and 2-year-old. Any of you out there has a 2-year-old, watch him squat. It's beautiful because they haven't built in bad patterns yet, and they're also a little bendy as it is at 2, but nonetheless, they haven't built in the bad patterns. So if you're 30 and you get out of bed one day and you're like, oh, my knee kind of hurt when I did that. Why is that? The reason is you've been getting out of bed poorly for the last 10 years, 15 years, who knows? And because nothing ever gave you a symptom, i.e. tightness or pain, you just assumed it was getting older, it was who knows, right? So that's where we go back to someone like myself, so rehab chiro, a rehab doctor, a physical therapist, what have you. We're focused on trying to teach you how to do those movements again so that you don't have pain. Now, when you think about as you get older in your 60s and 70s, most therapists, regardless of what your specialty is, when you're working with somebody over the age of 60, 65, most of the work you're doing is how to walk, how to get out of a chair, how to get out of a car, how to get out of bed. This is how to pick something up off the floor. This is the focus of their rehab, which could have been prevented 30 years prior if we had done it back then instead of trying to do it when you're 65 years old. So that's kind of the long extended version of why we have this mobility stability issue. You can have mobility issues. For sure, stretching is not a bad thing. The bad thing is when you're throwing a stretching solution, a mobility solution, at a problem that's based in stability, which means that you're just basically going to stretch. And you know this is the case if you've been stretching. It feels better, but it feels feels better for a very brief period of time. In other words, I stretch, I do this whole 10-minute routine, I get up and for half an hour, I feel pretty good. All that means is your body's reverting back to that lack of stability. It's not able to stabilize the entire system to move. So what you stretched was its crutch, right? It's linchpin that's keeping you moving and stable neurologically. But once you remove that, it only functions for about 30 minutes before it falls apart again because it's missing something. So if you're stretching, it helps, but very briefly, you need to find out the why part. Why is it losing stability, or doesn't have stability, or what has happened in your life? Okay? Very long-winded answer. Gave you the quick one up front. Thanks for watching. Tune in each week or so. We'll popping these up. If you have any questions, just put something in the comments. Ask away. We'll do our best to get back to you, obviously. And if you have a topic that you're curious about to get more in-depth answers, again, throw it in the comments, shoot us a message. Take care.